Hi, thank you for coming, and thank you for Michelle for putting this together. Well, I was going to read another poem. I was either going to read a poem by Mike McGriff, or Ginger Andrews, or Lucia Perillo. So now I'll read a poem by Lucia Perillo, who lives up in Olympia, Washington. It's called The Revelation. I hit Tonopah at sunset, just when the billboards advertising the legal brothels turn dun-colored as the sun lies down behind the strip mine. And the whores were in the Safeway, buying frozen foods and cokes for the sitters before their evening shifts. Yes, they gave excuses to cut ahead of me in line, probably wrote bad checks, but still they were lovely at that hour, their hair newly washed and raveling. If you follow any of the fallen far enough, the idolaters, the thieves and liars, you will find that beauty, a cataclysmic beauty rising off the face of the burning landscape just before the appearance of the beast, the beauty that is the flower of our dying into another life. Like a Mobius strip, you go around once and you come out on the other side. This is no alpha, no omega, no beginning and no end. Only the ceaseless swell and fall of sunlight on these rusted hills. Watch the way brilliance turns on darkness. How can any of us be damned? I apologize for muffing that last line. I have two poems in here, and both of them have falling in it, so I thought I'd read another poem instead. Then I realized it had falling in it as well. So it seems to be a common theme in my work. This poem is called The Giants. Out here, all darkness, stars overhead, I can finally see the giants. After all the years weighing dreams' fragments, I can see how each small thing, dead bees, a girl touching her ear, rose petals in a pool of molasses, leads to something larger than a life. The way the eye follows a trail of stars, then sees first one and then another constellation against the dome of night. My giants, I can almost love them now. Their hunger, like a piece of oak in the fire, eating every piece of wood around it. They ate everything. They left the bones scattered on the old brown sofa, the rabbit headless in the yard. They lumbered, light full on their shoulders, their hair backlit and flaming. Birds and small animals fleeing as whole animals left uneaten meals behind. I know they can't eat me. I know them as I know that to a child I might be as large as they were. And when they fell, the distance of their falling was so great the blood flowed, the earth smoldered, and when they cried, their crying filled every room with their tears, and worst of all, when they left, they always came back. The jostling, the trestles quaking in those days of the giants, sowing their bitter gifts, their curses, their sour blessings, their hurled and their spilled and their shattered. What was it that ate them? The dream they couldn't see burning inside them, the questions they never asked, the tree under whose shadow they did not lie down. I can see them, all that broke them, their shirts creased with sweat and rank oil when they climbed into the truck's cab at dusk, clutching the brown bag and the lottery ticket. Their feet rang out, their doors slammed, they trudged, they cried. They gave me these stars on a dark road, the rose book on a winter afternoon, the hooked thorns of the climbers, the ramblers blooming over walls and outbuildings, blooming over their graves. They gave me everything I wouldn't have known to love without their whine, their roar, their terrible noise. Now, here's an example of why you should never use a word in a poem that you have difficulty pronouncing. because you anticipate getting to the word when you read the poem, and then you buff up everything around it. So I'm going to tell you what the word is ahead of time, and maybe it will help me pronounce it correctly as when I get to it. The word is chiaroscuro. I'm not going to get it. That's probably close. Maybe I should just say swirling. Okay, but I'm going to try it when I get there. The poem is called What Do We Know and When Do We Know It? Hot day. An old guy is climbing into a tractor, bright orange, as yet ungouged by gravel or tree stump. He's testing levers and gears and settling into a seat built only for him, while we sit at the signal next to the tractor lot, next to an oil drum painted blue, bright with utility. And on the weekends outside the ballpark, a man does play the oil drums. A dog sits wearing sunglasses with a hat at its feet, its owner nowhere in sight in these last shabby days of summer. The days right before the mist starts to rise in a fusion of twilight and evening over the neighbor's garden, when the hollow shafts of sunflower stalks almost whistle, when we think we can see the golden thread that will lead us out of the labyrinth, despite the stories people stop to tell us at every turn, the glass bead rolling away, catching light, the ink on the page growing spindly, each story feeding the one we don't know how to say yet, the one waiting in us for the right story to come along. And sometimes it does, like that moment in The Bicycle Thief, when the boy and his father go off to work, and each is proud of the other, and the boy is, I'm certain, my brother, walking to work with our father after the war, walking down to the water and power yard. And later, when the father is beaten by the crowd for stealing the bicycle, the boy is no longer my brother, but me, the silvery entrails of failure swirling in chiaroscuro, the man beating his oil drums, and the dog with its paw outstretched in the last days of August, grimy with dust, blemished by indifference, when finally we know there is no way out. There is a rusty dredger in the Umpqua hauling up gravel from the riverbed. There is a river and we're in it, an osprey nest resting in the cradle of stadium lights. And now a woman telling a story, riven with such loss, she has to tell someone, and she has told you. Your head barely above water as you follow the current, filled with branches and upended trees, filled with pawn shops and homecomings, and a boy who could be you or me or my brother watching his father fall down. Thanks.